let's go to the NBA, where the Clippers got some bad news, I'd say, today. Chris Paul, CP3, is going to miss 6 to 8 weeks after tearing a ligament in his thumb after last night's game against the Thunder. While this is bad news, I guess the silver lining is that Blake Griffin is set to return from his knee injury within the next week. So, getting back Blake, does that soften the blow of losing CP3 for up to 8 weeks?
A little. It will help a little. Why just a little? Because you don't know where Blake will be in terms of conditioning and his game when he comes back. We all know Blake Griffin is an all-star type player,
No doubt.
A great talent when you look at his numbers, 21 points, 9 rebounds, 5 assists. So he can play at a high level, but a lot of times it takes players a couple of weeks to get their conditioning down, to get their legs back under them, to get their rhythm. So for CP3 to be out, that means Blake Griffin is going to have to work even harder, because if CP3 was there, he could get Blake Griffin some easier shots.
Agreed.
Now, Blake has evolved into a better passer, so he can help with the void of a Chris Paul, but I think you're going to have to rely a lot more on an Austin Rivers. You're going to have to rely a lot more on a Jamal Crawford or Raymond Felton, those type of guys. I did see a stat that says since the beginning of last year, the Clippers without CP3 and Blake Griffin 3-9. So
You got to have one.
Right, but CP3 is out immediately. And we hope Blake Griffin is coming back in the near future. So there's still going to be a few games when you're without both. Not good news
It's
at all.
interesting. If Chris Paul had stayed healthy, you could have made the argument that maybe they would have looked to shop Blake Griffin because of how well they were playing with just DeAndre.
Before the trade deadline?
Yeah.
You think so?
Yeah. Now you can.
Now
Obviously,
you can.
That's
but
gone.
But even still, I don't think they could shop Blake Griffin before the trade deadline, because this is kind of
like, had Chris Paul remained healthy.
Possibly, but to me, this is the last go-around. You have to see what you can do with this big three, DeAndre Jordan, Blake Griffin, and Chris Paul now, because Blake Griffin has an opt-out, Chris Paul has an opt-out, so they might not be around. But I don't think the Clippers and Steve Ballmer want to give up before the postseason and trading away Blake Griffin.
I agree. This is probably the last hurrah for it, but, I mean, we've kind of seen this song and dance before. We've seen
That's
the movie. We know how it ends. These guys don't stay healthy. Blake, this is a couple of years in a row now.
For sure.
Where he's missing significant time of the season.
Yep.
CP3, as great as he is, gets dinged up a little bit.
Got injured last year in the playoffs.
So, again, how can you just go, all right, well, next year they'll be healthy? Nope, that hasn't been the case.